Today I would like to talk about rebuilding the fiscal balance and creating a downtown core for all citizens. First, I would like to talk about downtown development and its importance, and then explain how we're actually going to go about doing it. Over the last few decades, Winnipeg has been growing out. We have been growing into the suburbs, and we have been doing very well. We have good services in the suburbs, but this has hollowed out our downtown core. We have seen major improvements, though, in our downtown, like the MTS Center, the Exchange District, and the Forks. But for many people, the image that they have in their mind of our downtown is buildings gone missing like teeth from a mouth. Another way of putting it is we have a large donut hole that's empty on the inside, and we need to fill that hole with some cream. Now, I'm not going to put down the suburbs because I also live in the suburbs. My family loves it. It's a beautiful area to live. In fact, you also need a balance between suburbs and downtown. But downtowns matter to the city's image as well as to its economy. Great downtowns will set cities apart, they impress visitors, and they make citizens proud. It's nice to have the best strip malls in the country or the biggest box store discount centers anywhere, but that does not set our city apart from others. The cities we travel, whether they are big or small or mid-sized, what makes the best ones remarkable is how we live together in the center. Beautiful buildings, bright lights, and the streets are busy and bustling with people. There are neighborhoods in Winnipeg which are like this. I think of Osborne Village, which was named one of the best neighborhoods in the entire country. You have people from all walks, all ages living together, bustling together, creating and shopping together, and we are starting to see that in the Exchange District. Having a lot of people all around in our downtown core also makes the streets safer. Urbanists such as James Jacobs have talked about this in many books that they have written about the more people you see on the streets, the less petty crime there is. So what is holding us back? Behind me is a surface parking lot. It is one of 208 surface parking lots within the city of Winnipeg with 35 hectares of land. And this represents a potential development of 3.5 million square feet in our downtown core. When you are beside these surface parking lots, these are dead zones, which make the city unsafe, which give that perception that it is dangerous to be down here. Because when you're walking along and there's no one else except for empty cars or an empty parking lot, you don't feel secure. They are eyesores, these parking lots. They are not attractive. They contribute to the sense of danger. And they have the lowest possible economic footprint that we can possibly use for this space. Now, dealing with this issue requires both a carrot and a stick. The city of Winnipeg already has the carrot. We have a $40 million tax subsidy for land grants to develop the downtown core. But now we also need the stick. As mayor, I will introduce a land value taxation for downtown and treat vacant lots as if they were a four-story building. And I will tax them as if they were a four-story building. This will encourage developers to start developing their lots instead of squatting on them, hoping to somehow make that big payday in a few years. This will raise an estimated $26 million in additional revenue for the city of Winnipeg. Now, it's also important to preserve the heritage character of our downtown. So any old buildings will be grandfathered in and exempt from these new regulations. I will also listen to people who will be most impacted by these details. So the details are not completely finalized, but I will listen to the people who are most concerned. Now, land value taxation has been used successfully in cities all around the world, whether it's in Mexico, Taiwan, Denmark, the United States, and even Russia. Now, the first proposal is about rebuilding our downtown. The second part is about working with the provincial government on creating a Winnipeg regional master plan. There are many challenges when it comes to running the city and being able to provide those quality services that we need, whether it's fire, police, ambulance, water, and sewer. Many people in the city of Winnipeg have moved outside of the city. They have gone into the bedroom communities, and they have moved there partly for the lifestyle, but also for low taxation. Many of them commute into Winnipeg, and they benefit from our city's infrastructure that we as the citizens of Winnipeg pay for each and every day out of our hard-earned wages. It's time that everyone who uses our infrastructure contributes. Given the challenges and costs of new infrastructure, it's long past due that the city come up with a plan with the provincial government to make this happen. Thirdly, as part of my fiscal plan, we should consider raising the hotel accommodation tax from 5% to 7%. The advantage of this tax is it raises revenue without adding to the burden of the average resident. But this should only be done in consultation with the tourism sector. Fourth, we should explore using what is known as tax increment financing to pay for certain infrastructure projects. Some kinds of public investments like transit help increase the value of property around it. If you look at subway stops in Toronto, the buildings spring up just as if it was in a garden. It increases the value of the property around them. It makes for a better city. It is as if we have spread fertilizer on that land. But those new buildings and higher property values mean that more revenue can be generated for the city. The idea is for the city of Winnipeg can now borrow money to finance a particular project, which will help raise the property values and use the increased tax revenue to pay for that project. It's basically the opposite of putting a garbage dump beside someone's house and ruining their land value. For my fifth and final point about my fiscal plan for the city of Winnipeg, I want to talk about property, school, and business taxes. I will not promise to freeze taxation in our city because simply I'm not sure if I can deliver that promise. And it's important for a politician to be honest about what they're talking about. Any politician who stands up here today and says, I'm going to freeze taxes, can think to 4 years ago. Any politician who stands up and says, I'm going to freeze taxes like business taxes, can think to 4 years ago and what we have been hearing from our politicians. But after having done every other measure, having talked to trying to raise more money from the PST using and talking with the provincial government, after having tried to find extra savings and efficiencies in the civil service and making our services better at the City Hall, after having used land value taxation, tax increments, after having looked at every possible measure, only then will we consider raising our taxes for our citizens. It should be the last measure. But people have to remember that if they want good streets, if they don't want cloudy beige water that they have to let sit there for 30 minutes in order to filter out the brown, sometimes we need to pay for it. But I'd also like to mention that I will not raise taxes beyond the rate of inflation. Inflation is an important indicator in economics because as the city's expenses increase, so does everyone else's expenses increase across society. And it's important to have a balance. Now, a final point about tax bills. I would like school boards and city taxes to each collect their own tax bill. Citizens deserve clarity and transparency on where their taxes are going and who's collecting it, and whether it's the city council or school trustees who are raising those taxes. To sum up, as mayor, I will implement a land value tax in the downtown. It will bring in $26 million in revenue, and combined with existing building incentives, it will encourage the private sector to turn parking lots like the one behind me into something useful and needed in downtown, creating more residential space, more commercial space. I will also work with the province to create a regional master plan. I will explore raising the hotel accommodation tax in consultation with the tourism sector. I will explore using tax increment financing to help finance infrastructure projects like expanding the bus rapid transit line. I will have the school board and the city separate their tax bills, and only as a last resort will I raise city property taxes and business taxes after having done all the other measures in my fiscal plan. So thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Tapwe. Salamat.